All right, hey everyone, it's Friday, June the 19th, the year 2020. Just want to cover a few things here. This right here, Emeric de Vittel, The Law of Nations, that book was used to build the Constitution. And it says in that book, the natives or natural born citizens are those born in the country of parents, plural, who are citizens. So if either one of your parents is not an American citizen, you're ineligible to be president. The reason they had that specific rule in the Constitution to be president of the United States is they did not want the president to have dual, D-U-A-L, loyalties to other countries. So we're going to cover that, but also I wanted to share this with you. I just got another message from CoreLinks, and they are systematically blocking me from communicating to any of my friends in prison. They've blocked me from communicating to Amy Gonzalez, Julia Poff, Schaefer Cox, Kurt Johnson, Russell Landers, David Hinkson, Martin Gottsfield, and others. So now they've blocked me just this morning from communicating to Michael Wayne Parsons. It says, this message informs you that you have been blocked from communicating with the above named federal prisoner because the Bureau has determined that such communication is detrimental to the security, good order, or discipline of the facility or might facilitate criminal activity. The prisoner with whom you were communicating is being informed of this block. Now, let me say that I believe the Bureau of Prisons, the DOJ, and the FBI are children of the devil, and that when they get thrown, when they split hell wide open and get thrown into the fiery pit of hell for the second death for selling out their fellow man and incarcerating and imprisoning innocent people and trapping them and railroading them on false evidence, I hope God allows me control of the temperature dial. But in any event, let's go over here real quick. I want to share. Now, this is a copy of Emeric de Vittel's book, Natural Law and Enlightened Classics, The Law of Nations. This book was used to build the Constitution of the United States. You can go to a website called protectourliberty.org. This is a textbook that's used in high schools throughout America. It's a 2002 edition, Democracy Under Pressure. Whenever I go to thrift stores, I always look for American government textbooks. This says, the hallmark of this best-selling textbook for the American government course has always been its lively narrative and exemplary scholarship. So this is the 9th edition, 2002. Let's go to the page that I want to show you, and there's several pages, but I'll just cover it quick. It actually talks about in this textbook, there are a few legal qualifications for the office of the Constitution requirements. There are a few legal qualifications for the office. The Constitution requires only that the president be a natural born citizen, at least 35 years old, and 14 years a resident of the United States. And then it comes down here in this footnote, and it says a citizen born abroad of American parents might well be regarded as natural born. The question arose in 1968 because George Romney, a Republican hopeful, had been born in Mexico. The requirement of 14 years residence apparently does not mean that a president must have resided in the United States for 14 successive years immediately prior to the election, because Herbert Hoover had not. But keep in mind, natural born means you were born on American soil to two American parents. Even this 2002 textbook talks about parents, right? American parents, P-A-R-E-N-T-S, both parents have to be American. Of course, we know Obama's father is admittedly not American, much less if you want to get into a discussion about his fake birth certificate. So let's also talk about, I want to talk about this on page 511. They talk about how bad the prisons are, that in the year 2000, there was over 2 million people in prison. They talk about it's overcrowded and a big problem. They talk about race issues in America within the prisons. You can talk about the problems with the police. And it's all covered. You know, this is a 2002 textbook, racial profiling. It's been going on for 20 years, a lot longer than that, actually. But I'm just letting you know that even in the textbook, they call this out. They talk about the Department of Justice and how the Department of Justice came under fire. It mentions specifically FBI siege of a religious, they call it a cult. I don't like that. Compound, a cult compound in Waco, Texas. Attorney General Janet Reno took responsibility. Yeah, she's going to take the responsibility for the deaths of all those women and children that were burned alive while the FBI and ATF stood on their tanks to take trophy photos. So anyway, it does talk about Waco. Then also it talks about the FBI, and it talks about COINTELPRO. Somewhere, here we go, right here. You see how the FBI, it mentions COINTELPRO, and it says harassed American citizens and disrupted their organizations through a wide variety of clandestine techniques, some of which broke up marriages or endangered lives. COINTELPRO, right in the textbook, it talks about that. And then it talks about how they spied and had files on John Lennon, Elvis Presley, Lucille Ball, Marilyn Monroe, and how the FBI is absolutely wicked. And notice this cartoon. They have the Freeman, and they talk about Justice Township, right? And Montana. And you have the Freeman with their guns, and they have the Confederate flag. And then they act like the FBI is nice. And they're bringing like, all right, who ordered the corned beef and rye? And it says, wow, the FBI really has dropped the confrontational approach. But that isn't the case. Russell Landers has been in prison for, I believe, over 30 years. And he's got a long time to go. And Russell Landers never hurt anybody. And Russell Landers was with the Montana Freeman. Russell Landers never hurt anybody. They sent over 500 FBI agents over a period of weeks to arrest and put in prison the Montana Freeman. And I think it's, oh my goodness, Schweitzer, Roy Schweitzer maybe. There was a Montana Freeman that they tortured and killed in prison. Leroy Schweitzer, yes, thank you. My wife Erin reminded me. So Leroy Schweitzer was arrested and they tortured and killed him in prison. And then you have COINTELPRO again. FBI secretly harassed American citizens and in some cases even endangered lives. The FBI reputation suffered. Keep in mind, this is a 2002 book, right? And it's talking about how the FBI is harassing and endangering lives and harassing Americans. And you think anything's changed in 20 years? It's worse. They're not fixing the system. They're not going to fix the system. The FBI needs to be defunded. You want to defund the police? How about we defund the FBI? Listen, folks, this is a 2002 textbook, and it talks about how the FBI has been harassing and endangering the lives of American citizens and how the FBI's reputation has suffered due to COINTELPRO. Do you know at the Bundy Ranch, there was probably more FBI agents at the Bundy Ranch than there were patriots? You can't go into any militia without somebody being paid by the FBI. When you meet somebody on the street, right, and you have a concern about their motives, ask them, are you now or have you ever been compensated by the intelligence community for what you're doing, right? Because you can't tell the difference between people getting paid to collect information and infiltrate you and set you up. And in the case of Schaefer Cox, they threatened his life, and now Schaefer is sitting in a secret hellhole prison. But you want to defund the police? I say we start with the FBI. I know the police are bad. I'm not arguing that. But I'm just saying, why don't we start at the core of the tree and defund the FBI as a first starting point? The FBI is the one who brings bricks to the protest groups. They're the ones who have infiltrators to start the violence. They're the one who dress up as policemen. Why don't you get your crap together and figure out what's really going on? That's what I got to say about that.